In today's episode, I'm going to be checking out a guitar that I absolutely hate. I don't like to use that word very often, but there are certain things that you try and you just cannot get like a sense of it or figure out why it exists. And I have put my hands on thousands, if not tens of thousands of guitars over the years in all kinds of ways, whether repairing them or selling them or owning them, reviewing them. And there are just certain guitars that when you get your hands on them, you're like, I don't really get this. And more importantly, it's everything against what I want a guitar to do, or it's against the playing style I have. So in this case, I bought this guitar used. It's in mint condition, and it's because, of course, I was trying to hit the budget, and you'll see why in a second. Let me just show it to you, and then I'll walk you into it. This here is a 2007 Yngwie Malmsteen Stratocaster. With rosewood. Now I know a lot of you are like, wait, he always does the maple. He does. And part of the fear of this, when I was buying this, was what happens if I like it? I mean, I didn't like it before, but I'll explain why I'm even buying it, besides what I said earlier. I prefer the blue to the off-white, and I prefer the rosewood to the maple. So I thought, to be as fair as possible, let's not just buy the easiest, least expensive model I can get, or even a fake. So this is the one I bought. This one was used. It was on Reverb. I'll make sure I screenshot it for you guys. 7.7 pounds. It came with the original case and is in absolute mint condition. I mean, literally almost brand new. Why don't I like this guitar? This guitar is not only scalloped, it's heavy scalloped. And if you guys don't know what that means, I'll explain it. Scalloping is essentially where they take and they remove a big part of the fretboard and they make it to where when you push down on the string, your finger cannot touch the fretboard. This is an interesting idea. Now I've heard this also explained that it's supposed to have like a trampoline effect, right? You push down and like a trampoline, it shoots you back up. Here's why I decided to try this. Because why I never liked it was the way I played before and had played for many years, especially before being on YouTube, is that I was very aggressive. I'm a bass player, so I use a thumb or my fingers for the bass. And when I use a pick, I would essentially kind of come at it the same way, kind of coming down with some force with my right hand to kind of hit that note and punch it out. This is interesting because it is very common for people, not only guitar players, but people, to equalize their hand strengths. In other words, if you're kind of hitting hard with your right hand, you'll push a little hard with your left hand, and so on. If you pick really light with your right hand, you might touch really light with your left hand. It's not common, so if you're one of the few out there, you can put a comment that you're like that, but it is not common that you pick really hard and play really light with your left hand, or vice versa, pick really light and push really hard. It is done, but it's not common. So as someone who is picking hard, I would push these, and instead of trampolines, I would just make the notes go sharp. I mean, it's like, and Yngwie was using like 8s. I mean, and these are, you could do 9s. I have to have 10s. So there's 10s on this, and that's a 10. That's what it sounds like with a. Well, that's not the 10. Let's use the 10 gauge. This is a 10 gauge string. So that's great. That's a great effect, I guess. But a little worse when you're like. Sounds like a dying duck. So I just couldn't take this guitar. And of course, if you run the action really light and low and put some light gauge strings, just everything about it was horrible for me. It was a horrible, horrible situation. So why revisit it? Why torture myself? Well, here's what happened. I've been on YouTube for a few years now, and I've had some experiences that would have never been afforded to me if this YouTube gig didn't take off into some degree. Those experiences involved me playing on stage with Larry Mitchell, being able to play on stage with Steve Stein, with Jay Leonard J. And when I say playing with those guys, I mean, I'm not trying to equalize myself to them in any way. So what I'm trying to say is being around them, you pick up things. When you meet better caliber musicians and get to interact with them on more than a level of just talking to them, but actually play music with them, you pick up some things. And of course, then playing in now, over 1,000 videos on YouTube, that's a lot of time. If you accumulate all the time I've played, it's quite a bit. I know I'm kind of running on, but I really want you to understand, I have changed the way I play. For those of you, the diehard know that when I started doing YouTube, I didn't even use a pick because I was a bass player and I really wasn't comfortable with a pick. I feel pretty comfortable with a pick now. And I also pick very light. It's something that I've just learned to do from all those players I just talked about. Even my bends are not as, I don't really if you look at my early videos, it's always like, and now I'm more. See, a little tricky still with this guitar. So let me do that again. And so I want to try this again. So what am I discovering playing this guitar? You know, what did all this translate to? Do I still hate this guitar? Do I love this guitar? Do I like this guitar? How does this work out? Well, I want to spend some time with it, so I did. And I've been playing on it. And I have to tell you, my very first impression, this was not as horrible as I remember it. And I don't feel like I misjudged the guitar in the first point. I think the guitar is exactly what I said it was before. The way it's designed, the way it works, it is the same. However, I am so different. And when I played chords, I remember like the chords being so sour before. Like that. And now it's... The other thing too that I learned different from last time is I was like, when it didn't work for me, I was like, well, this is a shredder's guitar and I'm not a shredder, so let's stay away from it. And I've learned now reviewing guitars that just because a guitar like a Telecaster is meant for a certain style of music doesn't mean that it has to be applied to that style of music. You can apply instruments to whatever. It's really just tools and how you use them. And although one person might use a tool one way, it doesn't mean that's how that tool is to be used every way. Do you have to be a shredder for this? That's the first question I had to re-ask myself. Is this what I still perceive to be a shredder guitar? Actually, no. Like I said, if you like really jumbo tall frets like C. Ray Vaughan and a flatter fretboard, maybe like a 10-inch or a 12-inch radius on a Stratocaster, so if you like a 12-inch radius Stratocaster with jumbo tall frets, you are actually kind of in this territory. First time I played the guitar and I played that kind of stuff, I felt like these were cheese slicers. I really felt that way. I feel like they were cutting into my hand to the point of agony. And I was like, why would anyone love this other than Yngwie, who plays super fast, super light, and he's amazing? Other than that, and anyone trying to achieve what he's achieving, why would anyone find this enjoyable at all? Like I said, there's only 2 or 3 guitars that I've ever had this experience so negative with. This is one, and maybe if you like this, give it a thumbs up and like this video. If this video does well, I will show you the couple other guitars that I hate probably as much as this. So let's go back to it. So yeah, and now I don't feel it because what's happening is my left hand is just pushing just enough to make the notes. That's it. It's kind of like the difference between a spring-loaded capo where it just clamps down at full force on your fretboard and one of those adjustable capos where you can lighten the tension and just push down enough to make it make the notes and also not push everything sharp. I'm not pushing down. In fact, it's almost like intuitive to me that when I don't feel the ground, so to speak, like my feet aren't touching the ground, when my finger's not touching the fretboard, it's almost intuitive to not keep searching for it by pushing down even more until I kind of like get my feet back on the ground. Okay, let me play some stuff that is not shreddy to see if I like it and share with you what I found. What I find is doing bends, it's magical. Sounds like I'm hitting the string hard, I'm not. I'm barely touching the string. I'm absolutely addicted and love the feeling of the scallop from the 12th fret up. This, I feel like I totally, first time on the high E string, have full control of it. In fact, I almost kind of wish there was a scalloping that scallops on the high strings and then it kind of raises back up, and then so it's not scalloped on the low strings. I have no problem keeping hold of this, but this, I have so much control. Can you immediately start playing more like Yngwie with this guitar? No, that doesn't happen at all, at least not in my case. I don't play any faster, I don't play any better. It doesn't do anything to enhance my playing at all in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing I've attached to this like, oh, this makes me play better. But do I have the same experience that I had many years ago when I picked up this guitar? Absolutely not. It's not because I think I'm a better player now. That's not what the takeaway from this is. It's that I've changed. I've changed my style, and the style changes subtly. And this does not have the same emotional, which by the way was very, very bad before. It was like, ugh, I couldn't wait to be handed this guitar and put it back on the stand or hand it back to whoever handed it to me. Now I can honestly say I really, really like it. It's a really cool guitar. Would this become my main guitar? I could tell you right now, one of my concerns would be playing this. One thing happens is you play it, the more you play it, the more you start liking it. And the more you start liking it, you start realizing how your other guitars are not like it. And then you question, am I gonna have to do this to all my guitars? And I think that's a normal question. And that actually is where I have a little bit of apprehension. I don't wanna play a guitar that is so removed from everything else I play, unless of course it was doing something for me that those guitars couldn't do, and that's not the case with this guitar. I think the lesson I learned here is not to hold on to the feelings that I once had when it comes to gear or music that I had before, because I may not feel that same way. You know, to be honest with you, before opening this out of this case, if you were to ask me what do I think of this guitar, I would have said, it's not for me, I don't care for it. And then my advice would probably be something like that, like, unless you're Yngwie, don't buy this guitar. That's not true. I can think of a ton of reasons why somebody would play this guitar. If you really hate the feeling of a fretboard on your finger when you're doing vibrato, which is why I kind of started playing lighter. You feel like when you're doing vibrato, it feels beautiful. I mean, it's an addicting feeling. This feeling that there's nothing underneath your finger. I would like to do another video a year from now, even if it's on the second channel. How do I like it after a year? I would really think that, playing it and see how much, more. This is coming back to it. Obviously I had a more positive experience. I feel like this guitar is more in line with me, even though I'm not a better player than I was before, and I'm not really shredding or anything. I just feel like now the guitar, the things I didn't like, I think I've changed enough to where they don't bother me now. And I'd like to see how much further I could go with this. Maybe in a year from now, I'll have a bunch of guitars scalloped. It could be a thing. It could definitely be a thing. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you so much for spending the time with me today, especially making it to the end of the video. It's the thing that supports the channel the absolute most. And as always, thank you for that time, and know your gear.